weeks ago, I drove out to Fossil, Oregon to visit an internet buddy's off-grid family ranch. It's settled in a beautiful valley on 64 acres where they raise low-line Angus cows, goats, chickens, turkeys, and livestock guardian dogs. My friend also has done a lot of permaculture and gardening and raising crops and such. I had never met him before, but in the short few days I spent there, I knew I was in love with the lifestyle out there already. Every morning, we moved the cows to the fields to graze after gathering apples for our breakfast. Then after the cows and a coffee break, we would relax or gather firewood or feed the horse. And then we'd let the goats out and graze them for a while, reading and talking and getting to know. And then it was dinner time with food cooked over a wood stove, and then the evening was for relaxing. I only adhered to the schedule for the 4 days I was there, but even after that short amount of time, it felt jarring to go back to the relatively hectic life of retail work and sporadic chores. I still miss it today. So, to commemorate the trip, I wanted to create a piece of art that reflected my rapid attachment to the land and the people and the animals. So I brainstormed some symbolism, I did some rough composition sketches, I gathered some reference photos, and set to work. I'm painting with Liquitex acrylic inks, sepia and black, and then at the very end we'll do some red. The rest is in gouache. The surface is aquaboard, which is kind of like an illustration board designed for very wet media. And I like it for its flexibility with blending and the nice surface texture that it has. So I started the piece with layers of sepia tone. As you saw earlier, I mixed a bunch of different values, so I had a kind of a pre-mix light wash down to kind of a mid-tone, and then if I needed to, I could just use ink straight out of the bottle. But here I'm just kind of putting in the landscape, which is a bit on the surrealist side. It's a little bit like twisted. But I wanted to make the landscape feel like an exaggerated valley, like it was very encapsulated. It was like a perfect little microcosm. I wanted it to feel kind of smaller than it was, because to me, small is cozy and comfortable. So that's kind of the feeling that I was hoping to evoke there. And so here we're going in with another layer of darker ink, just for some variation. I was working off of reference photos that I had taken out in the valley. I also decided to do a little bit of outlining, just to strengthen the contrast of the honey locust leaves there. The honey locust plant is kind of a mid-sized tree, but it's a legume actually, which is really cute. But their leaves are super cute, and my friend is really passionate about them, and he really likes that tree a lot. I guess you could say it's like his soul tree, like a soul animal or something. But he's got a ton of little seedlings growing out by the creek that he's done a lot of restoration on. So I decided that the honey locust needed a part in this painting, because it was a key player in the trip. And then here I used a little bit of the black ink at a light wash to put in some of the trees and scrub brush and junipers and sagebrush and all that. We're doing a little bit of light sepia wash on the coyote, starting with all of the dark areas. For the coyote, I had used 2 poses of coyotes put together. So I think that the head and the body were of 2 different coyotes, 2 different poses. But when I look for reference photos, I like to kind of combine animals and just use my general understanding of animal anatomy to piece them together to make them look accurate. That's my favorite way to use reference photos, honestly. Not like a complete copy of the animal, but, you know, using them to make the animal subject look more real. And so that was a light layer of kind of a golden gouache, which took forever to mix. I mean, that color is very interesting out there, that light kind of sun-bleached grass. But I finally got the color down, which I'm very happy about. And here we're doing the honey locust colors. I decided to leave them very loose. I didn't want all of them to look kind of uniform because each leaf is tilting a different direction and catching light in a certain way, and I wanted them to feel kind of unique and organic in that way. I also wanted the tips of the leaves to feel like they were trying to turn for autumn. Because of the time period that I visited, my friend was really excited in saying that he was very happy that I got to see a bunch of different qualities of the environment. You know, we got a lot of haze from the forest fires and a lot of good warm weather, and then all of a sudden it was gray, and then on the very last day it rained. And let me tell you, the the smell from the landscape after that rain was like none other. It was really magical. And I tried to include the hint of rain or storm clouds in the background here in a second too, but first we're gonna paint in the coyote a little bit. And the coyote symbolism is more of like a personal placeholder for me. I like to use coyotes as kind of a generic subject for myself. Sometimes it's more overt in that the coyote is me, and then other times it's just the coyote is the vehicle for the experience that the piece is trying to convey. So unfortunately I don't have a lot of footage of painting the middle parts, but here I am doing all of the red afterwards. And I really wanted this red to be super bold, and I wanted it to represent the kind of East Asian, the East Asian belief of the red string of fate. And the red string of fate is basically an invisible string that like gods or fate or whatever ties to different people to signify that they are like connected in some way, you know, whether romantically or platonically or whatever. But I really liked that symbolism, and so I used the keyhole, and I tied it to the honey locust and to the goat skull, and I really wanted it to feel like it was fated. And then here's a bonus turkey! She was begging for dog food, in case you were wondering. Alright, thank you guys for joining me for this video. It was really, really fun to do this piece, and I'm really glad that I got to share it with you. Thank you for being a patron, and I will see you in next month's video.